Recently, a lot of different video game adaptations to TV or movie have been coming out. Now, last week, we got to talk about the games that I believe should be getting their own movies or TV shows, but this week in specific, we're getting into the topic of probably one of the most popular video game adaptations probably ever. I know that it's going to be wild to say this, but this is probably one of the greatest hits when it comes to video game adaptation in a TV form. And the series that I'm talking about, you guys have already guessed it by either the thumbnail or the title, it is Fallout. Now, before getting to any specific details about this series, I think it would be very smart for you guys to know that I am going to be covering some spoilers in this video. So, if you do not want your experience with the Fallout series to be spoiled in any way, shape, or form, please stop this video, go watch the series, binge it if you have to, because honestly, all the episodes came out at the same time. Go there, watch it, then come back, and then we'll have this discussion, because I don't want you guys to miss out on anything pertaining to this specific series. Now that I've warned you, let's get into it. So my background with Fallout started a few years ago when I befriended one of our building's security guards, and he was awesome. I mean, I would go downstairs and talk to him every single time he was on duty. He was awesome. He was awesome to talk to. We talked about gaming. We, really get into specifics about this type of games that we liked and the experiences that we liked. And he kind of introduced me to Fallout. Now, I had no idea what Fallout was back then. To me, Fallout was a game that I never got any interest in. Nothing piqued my interest when it came to Fallout. But when he turned to me and he said, listen, when you get a chance, go out there, buy this game, and play it. You're gonna love this game. You're gonna love it. And I said, okay, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna like this game or not. So I went out to my nearest GameStop and I bought the Fallout 3 copy. Now, that was kind of like the start of it. I bought it for PS3. I started the game, and I started to see where the story lied. And then when I started to understand that Fallout is far more than just an RPG, and it is a very in-depth story that they are introducing to you, that is when I started to realize, okay, there's a lot deeper lore going on here. And I think that is where the charm of this game lies. It's in its lore. It's in the deeper story that it's trying to tell, the details, the intricacies between interpersonal relations, and how each person is trying to survive this really messed up situation. And I think that's the quirky, incredible part of Fallout. And I think that after playing Fallout 3, I was like, okay, I'm sold. This is actually a great game. I played it through to the very end. I got, to the point where, you have to meet with your father at that point, and it's a really incredible experience. Now, afterwards, I got to play a little bit of Fallout New Vegas. Unfortunately, I never finished Fallout New Vegas, but I played lots of it. I got 2 New Vegas in the game. I got to see the, NCR. I got to see, the Romans. I got to see a lot of different things in that game that don't really sound a lot like a Fallout game, but once you play through it, you start to understand that this is like a much cooler and, deeper story than most people would consider. And the fact that you don't start the game in a vault completely, it's like you start in a town in the middle of nowhere, and then you're kind of like figuring stuff out as you go of like your past. And I think that is a great concept for a game. And till this day, Fallout New Vegas is considered one of the best Fallout games to ever come out. I mean, most people would put it above Fallout 4 in certain lists. So it is kind of wild that most people would consider that specific experience better than, a solid mainline story like Fallout 3 or Fallout 4. So it's really interesting. And, afterwards, time passed, and then we got Fallout 4, which I absolutely loved and played from the beginning to end twice, 2 different endings to see how it would work out, and both endings are very different from each other. So it is kind of wild. It is kind of a unique experience that Fallout gives you. Now, after playing all these games for Fallout, I have a specific mindset when I'm dealing with things that have to do with Fallout. So I'm already, pre-built or pre-wired to expect certain things to happen in this series. So when I heard that they were creating a Fallout-based series, deep down, my preconceived notion was that, okay, this is going to be fun, but since we hadn't gotten, great TV adaptations of video games, or movie adaptations of video games, I was on the fence. I thought that maybe this show wasn't going to turn out to be any good, because, that preconceived notion was in my mind. So I was like, dude, I hope the series is worth it. And, I saw the teaser for it, and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And this was in 2021, mind you. And then 2022 came around, and then we got to see, a little bit more of the series. We got to see Jonathan Nolan on set talking about, the process of making the series. And that was interesting. A little bit of a sneak peek, but nothing. There was nothing that, remotely showed what the show was going to be about. And then recently, a few months ago, we get finally a teaser for this show. And that is when things started to click in my brain. I was like, okay, they're taking Fallout seriously. And that to me is a sign of respect for the source material, and to me, it's a sign that the people who are creating this series love the games. I think it's important that if you are going to make something like this, if you're going to work on a series like Fallout, you should have at least the base knowledge of the series. You could possibly start the series and have nothing to do with the games, not know anything about Fallout. But if you are a gamer and you've already played through these games, then you're gonna see little details here and there that are just gonna, make your brain run wild. And I think that is the key of this series. The fact that the people who are creating this series actually do enjoy Fallout. And it shows in the work that they're putting out, specifically with this series. So you're obviously introduced in this series to 3 main characters. You're introduced to Lucy, which is the Vault Dweller. She is the, quintessential child, the perfect human being, sort of, that is supposed to, repopulate America. And, being that I have already played through the games, I already understand that each vault has their own objective. And to them, they don't know that. To the people who are living in these vaults, have no idea. They're just signing up to live underground. And ultimately, you see that they are living in sort of like the perfect society. And to see that play out, through the course of one entire episode, and seeing that sort of like progress little by little, and seeing that she's starting to realize things aren't very, normal per se, is very interesting. And seeing Lucy's growth from the beginning to the end of the series is mind-blowing. And we also have to talk about Maximus. Maximus is this kid who was found, in the rubbles of another explosion, in which he survived, and he was taken in by the Brotherhood, and now he's kind of, become one of the Brotherhood. But he's never really fit in. I mean, you can tell by the way he moves, the way that he reacts to certain things. He's never really wanted to be one of the Brotherhood. He just wanted to live a normal human life. And that is kind of like what we see later on when he actually goes into the vault and actually experiences what it's like to be in a vault and have like a nice, comfortable, life where you don't have to worry about, all these crazy external things. So he starts to realize the type of life that Lucy had, and ultimately he wants that for himself. So it is really interesting to see that dynamic between, someone who's from the surface and was born on the surface and slowly grew, and never knew what it was like to have like fresh running water, or having a warm shower, or having good food to eat. So I love that dynamic. To be able to introduce that, lifestyle to him was very interesting, because you then start to draw the parallels. Lucy kind of is going through this transformation as well, because she's seeing that happen on the surface. So I really, really like that dynamic that they played out between those two characters, and ultimately seeing the two of them kind of like, become, Wasteland boyfriend and girlfriend, sort of. That was really cool, because it shows that they're two people who are finally connecting and understanding each other's situation. So I really love that relationship, and I really want to see how it flourishes next season. And then we have our third character, who is the Ghoul. Now, Walter Goggins, who is the guy who is doing the Ghoul in this series, he is fantastic. He is fantastic. What a fantastic performance by him, because we start to understand who this guy is, what his mission has been all along. I mean, all that we know about this guy, all that we know about the Ghoul, is that he survived the explosion somehow, and the fact that, unfortunately, he doesn't have his family anymore. Now, only until the end of the series do we understand why he is the way that he is and what he's looking for. It's not that he's just a bounty hunter, because that's what he is. He is a bounty hunter. He's out there, hunting other people and kind of like doing these missions. And speaking of missions, probably one of the best lines of the series is uttered by him, because Lucy just wants to follow rules and everything, and then we find out that he has his own mission to accomplish, and that's when he utters probably one of the best lines of the series, which I believe, and I'm paraphrasing here, "Thou shalt not be sidetracked by bullshit," which is, I think, a very funny line for a character to say, because it is, in essence, the overall essence of what it means to play a Fallout game is you being sidetracked by BS in a big way. You have a side quest here, side quest there, you gotta do this, then you gotta do that. That is literally the essence of a Fallout game, and if a person ever thinks about making anything or doing anything in a Fallout game, more than likely they will relate to that one line, and that was pretty brilliant on the writer's part to include that in there. But as for the Ghoul himself, seeing him kind of be this badass, like, he is probably one of the most badass characters in Fallout, and I'm talking about, like, including people from the game, people that we are introduced to in the game. He is easily one of the most badass characters out there, and to see his progression, see who he is, see his backstory, because of all the characters that we're seeing so far, he's the only one whose backstory best represents his mission, and ultimately when I saw these back and forth moments that we see of him in present day and then him in the past, what I started to realize is, okay, his story is a whole lot deeper than everybody else's story that we're seeing right now. There's a much deeper lore to his character that I would love to see explored in the next season. Now, of this entire season, and this is something that happens to series in general, is that we have usually that one episode that is just not great, or it doesn't progress the story very far. And I think to me, in this specific case, the story that kind of dragged a little bit for me was episode 7. Oh, sorry, correction, episode 6 was the one that kind of dragged for me, because the last 2 episodes were great, but the episode 6 was possibly the one that kind of dragged a little bit for me. It didn't progress the story as much, but for me personally, as a whole, the series delivered. It delivered on everything it set out to do. Everything. It told a great story. It gave us great characters. It feels like Fallout in every single way possible. Everything. From items that you see around the game, to the advertisements, to the radio, to the music. The music is simply the best possible soundtrack you can give to this game, because it fits with this game. Every time I hear a 1950s kind of tune, I associate with Fallout, and this series understands that, so they play that style of music throughout the series, and I think that is key to making this series what it is, and what it will ultimately become even more so in another season. Now, speaking of music, I feel like this would be the perfect opportunity to talk about this, because in this series alone, we don't hear the Fallout theme ever. I mean, to me personally, I thought that we would hear the Fallout theme at the end of every episode, or we would hear it at the beginning of an episode, or when the title pops up on the screen for a few seconds, or something of that sort. But we only hear the Fallout theme in this series, I believe, only at the end of episode 6 or beginning of episode 7, I believe, and it's only there that we hear the Fallout theme. And it's kind of sad, because I really wish we could hear more of the Fallout theme, and they only play it when we see the New California Republic pop up. Anything pertaining to the New California Republic, that very first time that we see the flag and see the, armor for the New California Republic, is the only time that we see it. It's the only time we actually get to hear that sound, that iconic, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, the only time we get that. So I hope that in Season 2 we get to hear a little bit more of the Fallout theme, but it's an original story, so I'll give it a pass on that alone. And as everybody has mentioned or has put out there already, the final episode is technically one of the best episodes of the series. And ultimately, it's because it finishes people's arcs. You kind of figure out who they are in the final episode. It kind of links people up to the story that they've been trying to tell this whole time. And that's a great thing, because if you're going to watch the series, you're curious about who these characters are and what their intentions are. So in the very end, we find out that Moldaver wasn't a bad person. She obviously wasn't creating any sort of ruckus. She wanted to give power back to people. She wanted to give people the ability to live a better life. and she was not, the type of person who would expect to be, this perfectly, helpful human being, because she is, in control of this base, and they insinuate that she's part of the NCR, but ultimately what we are seeing is that she wants to give people back the power that they deserve. And that's a great thing. That's a great overall connective thing that we can make, because we get the sensation that she's like a terrorist, and she's not. She's just wanting people to live a better life on the surface. And obviously other factions have other ideas, but she wanted to give power back to the people, and ultimately she did that in the end. So that's a great thing to see, this sort of arc for that character. We see Lucy grow a lot from the very first episode up until the very last. We see this person as this little fragile human being, and at the very end she's kind of like become a badass in and of itself, sacrificing her mom, who is now a ghoul, and she becomes this sort of symbol for what us as the players are when we leave a vault and slowly become this, different version of ourselves. So Lucy did a great job at becoming this better character. Ella Purnell is the actress behind her, but Lucy, the character Lucy, has that arc, and that's great. And Maximus as well got his arc as well. He started as, absolute bottom, and we start to see that we start to fill certain holes in his story up until the very last episode, and we start to understand that the people who caused Shady Sands, or the massacre of this entire town, was Vault-Tec, and Vault-Tec created that problem. And to find out that it's the fault of Lucy's father is kind of wild. It is a concept that you still have to sit there and kind of wrap your mind around. But to understand the depths of this character, to understand that Maximus came from the rubbles of that, and he's now trying to chart his own path, is a very interesting thing. And the fact that he becomes a knight at the very end of the series unintentionally, he's trying to tell the truth to everybody, but now, because of the constant view of the Brotherhood of Steel's being that they needed to capture and kill Moldaver, after seeing this, he now becomes a knight for the Brotherhood of Steel. So that is a very, very interesting view of who he's going to become in the next season. And ultimately, we have to talk about the final shot of this series. And that final shot that we get of Lucy's father climbing up a hill with the sun rising up from the horizon, and we see him walking on this desert, and we see this freaking death claw skull on the ground, just kind of insinuating that we might see a death claw in the next season, which would be really cool. And ultimately we get that shot of New Vegas, knowing that now we're going to start seeing things from the games a little bit more in depth, And I love that they ended it on New Vegas, because a lot of people love that game. A lot of people love Fallout New Vegas. So to have that be the end of the series really is going to get people excited, and it's going to be able to bridge a lot of gaps, and we're possibly going to see characters that we have come to know from the games now in reality. So that's going to be a really cool opportunity for them to pull something off that's going to make everybody very, very, very happy. And to me, the series was an absolute success. Now, something that was a bit controversial online, which I don't think it should be controversial, but the fact that this series released all of its episodes all at once was a bit of a topic of discussion online, and I personally think they should just release all episodes all at once. I mean, for me personally, I prefer to choose the pace in which I watch a show rather than have a network say, oh, you're going to watch one episode this week, now you're going to watch another episode next week, and then another one after that, and after that. I don't like that. I seriously don't think that is the best way to watch a series. I think you, as a viewer, you can watch it at your own leisurely pace. And if you want to watch 2 episodes at once, you can do that. If you want to watch 1 episode now and 1 next week, you can do that. Allow the viewer to actually see the, whatever they want to watch at their own pace. To me personally, it took about almost 2 weeks for me to see the entire series, and that's only 8 episodes. Now, think of it like this. Sure, could I sit down and watch the entire season in one sitting? Possibly. It's going to be a bit tiring for me because I really do want to enjoy the series and, kind of savor each and every episode little by little. Some people would just want to, eat into the series and binge the entire series and be done with it, which can be a great thing, but you're going to, not enjoy it entirely. So for me personally, release all the episodes all at once. I don't like the whole weekly thing. Whenever I see a series coming out that is going to get, that sort of weekly, sort of release schedule, I just wait to the very end so that I can watch it at my own pace. I'd rather just wait for all the episodes to come out, and then I can, little by little, watch these episodes as they come out. I like that. I think that's a fair way to tackle, streaming as a whole. And for me personally, this series is going to go down as possibly one of the best seasons of video game television that has possibly ever been made. So I can't wait for season 2, and it's already been confirmed. And if you like this series and you really enjoyed it, tell me. I want to know, because season 2 is coming, and we're possibly going to get a whole lot cooler stuff in season 2 that hasn't been announced, or we can infer due to the way that it ended, the fact that, it takes place on the West Coast, the fact that we're going to see New Vegas in the new season. So it's going to be a really wild ride, and I want to know from you guys what you guys think. Do you guys enjoy the series? Did you guys have fun watching this show? If you did, go down in the comments below and tell me, because I want to have this discussion with you. I want to be able to hear what you guys have to say about this series and what you think will be in the next season. And while you're down there in the comments below, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos go live on this channel. And thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.
We're safe and sound under the ground, no monsters, no frustration. From screens below in vaults so deep, we gaze with wary eyes at humans change, no longer sane neath atom-split skies. Their forms have twisted, turned and grown in ways we can't foresee. A cautionary tale they are of what we should not be.